Hey, this is Mark A. Altman.
And this is Darren R. Doctorman. And we are the Inglorious
Treksperts.
Treksperts.
And this is our one-on-one, this is our one-on-one conversation. That's not ours
And
because
it's
it's one-on-one.
It's
So
one
it's
in
really,
one and it's one on one.
it's really not an our one-on-one. It's your
It's
one-on-one
my one on
because
one.
it's Darren Doctorman sat down for a very intimate conversation with Terry Farrell, one-on-one.
Very intimate. We had a big crowd.
Well, I know, but it was like you guys got to, dig deep and talk about
Totally.
really,
Yes.
it was nice. It was different than the three of us, sort of spieling and doing our
That's
thing together. It's like you got to really, yeah. It was interesting because, of course, this was happening back in San Jose when we were all running around like chickens with our heads cut off. Again, I don't know where that expression comes from.
Well,
I guess
it,
it's from.
it comes from a chicken with its head cut off can continue
Yeah.
to run.
Yeah, that sucks. That's unfortunate. I don't like this thought of that. I don't like the image. I don't like what it conjures up. I don't like anything about it.
Then don't use that phrase.
I won't. From now on, that is verboten. So
It's a
this is a
chicken
really
with
nice
its head cut off
conversation.
running down the pike.
Look, we love Terry, and it was terrific because, of course, I was dealing with the whole Ralph Sinetsky arriving, and it was like having a Commodore or an Admiral arrive. And then, Ashley was dealing with the whole Shatner Star Trek V audio-visual situation. And then you were off interviewing
And I
Terry
missed
Farrell.
that whole thing of Sinensky talking with Shatner. I missed that
I
whole
know.
thing. But you know what? I'd do it again because I
Yeah,
got
'cause
to spend a nice hour with Terry Farrell.
Oh, really? And the people were so complimentary. At that point, I was ready to retire. I'm like, just let Darren do the interviews. He seems to have this under control. And, so it was good. Hey, did you watch that? I know it's been a while that it's been on, but have you watched that John Williams documentary on Disney Plus?
I have. It's great.
It's great, except what is Chris Martin doing? I'm not one of these people who hates Coldplay. Like, I like Coldplay. I like Chris Martin. I don't have a problem with them. But I don't know what he's doing in a John Williams documentary.
Obviously, just appreciating the master.
You know who I would like to have seen? His son from Toto. I
Yeah.
want to know if John Williams had anything to do with the score to Dune, like if he gave advice to his son at all.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. I don't think so, from what I hear. There wasn't, but yeah, it is interesting because it has the Dune score has that same grandeur that Williams is capable of, and it's just interesting.
You don't expect it from the sands of Africa. You know what? It was interesting. Not to get back to that Yacht Rock documentary, but I found it interesting that people were really offended by the fact that they wrote this beautiful ode to Africa, but had never been there. They were offended that they said, But I've written about space. I've never been there either, and I've said nice things.
Well,
The grandeur of space.
they don't really say that they miss Africa. They miss the
sands.
rains down in Africa.
Oh, the rains down in Africa.
Yeah. They don't sing about sand. That's Dune.
That's true, right? Okay, I got my Dune and my Africa confused. You think that's why they got Dune? Because it was like the rains, like on
Never one drop of rain on Arrakis.
never one
so
drop of rain, so they're
I
hoping
miss
maybe.
the rains down on Arrakis
Now that'd be a good
because there
song.
aren't any.
Yeah, but there was rain on what was the home of what's the name of the family that Kyle MacLachlan and
The
Greta
Atreides?
Proctor- The Atreides, right? The Atreides. So the Atreides had a lot of rain on their planet.
They were on Caladan. Yes.
So that was on Caladan, was more like Africa. We missed the rain on Caladan. See, that's what Toto should have
Well,
sang about. We missed the rains on Caladan. No, I can't do it.
that's pretty funny.
You could do it.
I'm not gonna though.
So funny. Could you
Consider
just
that.
see them on Arrakis just breaking out the song "We Missed the Rains" on Caladan? Be great.
Well, I just whenever we talk about songs and Dune, I think of our time at Comic Con when we were singing "If You Like Leto Atreides."
Yeah, I remember that. Who got that? Was a while ago. That was like back in the days of like when Weber was there, and of course, what was it? The DJ. What was his name?
Sean.
Sean LaFleur, right?
Yeah.
Sean LaFleur, DJ/detective, private eye. Yeah, it's not a sitcom; it's a real thing. He's a DJ/private detective.
It's
I don't know.
great.
Is he still a DJ and private detective?
I don't know. I haven't heard from him in ages.
Man, that's a sitcom waiting to happen, isn't it? Man, that's pretty good stuff.
DJ
Speaking of
PI.
Speaking of sitcoms waiting to happen, we're going to be back in Vegas. I don't know if you heard the news.
I don't think that's a sitcom.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun though.
I
It's gonna
hope
be fun.
so.
We're doing some
I'm
really
looking
cool
forward to
stuff.
it.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be exciting. I think if you didn't go last year, you want to go this year. You don't want to miss out. Because honestly, I don't know if we're gonna do it again. I know you hear us saying this stuff all the time, but I gotta be honest. It's 59th. It's the 59th anniversary of Star Trek.
Okay,
I don't know
maybe
what the
one more.
60th is gonna bring.
Maybe
Maybe
one
we
more.
do the 60th. I don't know. We haven't been invited back. We just got
No, we
invited back for
haven't.
the 59th.
We haven't even been invited.
We were invited. Well, that brings us back to the John Williams documentary. Man, was that good.
It's great.
I-
And I had no idea that he was married to that actress who was in Oklahoma.
Oh, that was interesting. I know. That was so sad. I didn't know his personal story. It's so
horrifically
tragic.
Sad.
I felt so bad for him.
A beautiful wife and children, and she passed away very suddenly, and he was left all alone with the kids, and it's extremely.
He always
tragic.
seems so serious and scholarly. I didn't realize what a warm and funny man he was until I saw this documentary.
Well, I think you can assume that by listening to his music, because his music speaks about his personality, I think, more than anything.
It's funny. Isaac turned to me. He's halfway through. He says, "They're not going to do 1941, are they?" And I said, "I don't think they are." We're both very disappointed because the score for 1941 is so great, and it often gets overlooked because the movie was not a success. So,
And Spielberg doesn't like people to talk about
he
it.
doesn't like people to talk about it, which is a shame because it's such a great score, and it gets completely overlooked. It was interesting because they really go through the 70s and 80s heyday, and then it's like, boop, 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 boop.
And then,
It's
whoops.
like, yeah. There's a lot of their collaborations they don't really get into, like Memoirs of a Geisha and War Horse, and a lot of the later stuff. But
I
but
think
it's so great. I mean,
it's a different tone, and I'm not necessarily a fan of that period of Spielberg's career.
God, you know who was really funny? Yo-Yo Ma was great.
Oh, he's great.
He was great. I
Yeah.
loved him. Yeah. And the story about getting, was it Yo-Yo Ma? No, it was, I think, for Schindler's getting Perlman,
Yeah, Itzhak Perlman. Yeah.
where he's like, I have to think about it. I'll get back
Right.
to you. It's like, what? Oh my gosh. So great. Really interesting stories. Because look, we both love film music. And I know a lot of people who like film music, they think, oh, well, it's like dry to hear about the process. Not at all. I think it's fascinating. It actually deepens it.
And John Williams is such a huge presence in decades. Not only for his composing, but his piano playing, for crying out loud. I mean, he played piano for The Apartment.
Yeah, I know. It's so great.
He was Rickshaw Boy, for crying out loud.
It's funny. Isaac and I were playing. When I would drive him to school, we had this. I put my John Williams playlist on shuffle, and we played Name That Tune, and we were getting pretty good at it. We would always get stumped on two movies:
Yeah.
Fabelmans
Oh.
and Space Camp. We were getting pretty good on everything else.
I wouldn't know Fabelmans because I only saw that movie once, and that was enough. But I love the score for Space Camp. It's great.
And the new Indiana Jones, we that would stump us a lot. But we were getting pretty good. For a while, Towering Inferno and Earthquake would stump us, but then we were getting the hang of it. So that was a lot of fun. We were doing really good with that.
Yeah.
But a lot of 1941 kept popping up, and we loved the 1941. What can I say?
1941 always reminds me of a commercial in the 70s for Celeste individual pizzas. Because they had a jingle. It's Abundanza pizza for one. And when I heard the score for 1941, of course it goes da 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 da. So every time I heard that, it reminded me. And I wonder if that was a little bit of inspiration from John Williams. I don't know.
God, you saying that reminds me of that Uber driver I had in Vegas who was like trying to convince me that Little Caesars was the best pizza in the world or whatever it was.
Well,
I think it was Little
people are
Caesars. It
allowed
was
to
some
like
chain. It
different
was some chain pizza. And I was just like, you're out of your mind. You're out of your Klingon mind.
Well,
Your Vulcan mind.
it's just like having guests on a rebuttal episode. They have different opinions.
Oh, that was fun. That was good. I was glad to hear a bunch of people express different opinions.
And
They're wrong.
None of them liked pizza.
Not on my pizza. It was so interesting because there seemed among many of our guests, they really seemed to like that Tomorrow is Tomorrow, Tomorrow Strange New Worlds. If there's one episode of Strange New Worlds I hate the most, I dislike the most, I shouldn't say it's too strong a word. It's that Tomorrow, Tomorrow, Tomorrow. I don't understand the logic. I hate the con thing, and big moment is the car chase, and Kirk is like hustling chess to make money. I dislike that episode so much, and so it's so interesting for me to hear people who I respect so much telling me how much they love it, and that's what makes what do they say? That's what makes horse racing.
What makes horse races, yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. It was funny. I read somebody was saying that they said, oh, for an episode where you supposedly, it's a chance for people to express all their different opinions and good fun, it sounded like you all hated each other. And it was like, I found that really offensive because it's like, my God, is it really the world has come to this point where it's like when you disagree, you just assume that people dislike each other? I love that episode.
I think, unfortunately, that's true. There's a lot.
I loved hearing people with different opinions. And I love giving them a little guff over their opinions, but it's like
arguing with people with different.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not arguing against them; it's arguing against the opinion.
Yeah, they were our friends before; they'll be our friends afterwards.
Hopefully,
I mean, it was an implication somehow that like these were industry friends. Like they're not industry friends; these are friends. We all happen to be in the industry,
Well,
it was a weird comment. It was a weird comment. I can understand people who didn't like the episode for various reasons, but that I don't understand.
Well.
Yeah.
One thing I do understand is that spending an hour talking with Terry Farrell is luminous.
Great. So let's not make them wait any longer. Let's listen to your fantastic one-on-one interview with Terry Farrell after these brief commercial messages. We'll be right back with a great interview with Darren.
We're going to have a great time with one of our favorite people. You know her from Back to School. And that's about it. No. And of course, she is the luminous Jadzia Dax from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the luminous herself, Terry Farrell.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you for coming, guys.
Had a little entry music there. That was cool. So, Terry, we've done a lot of these with you over the past few years. I thought that we would take a step back and talk about your early years growing up and the things that influenced you and excited you and made you want to leave your hometown as soon as you could. You grew up in Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Yes, I did.
Which I'm very familiar with because my grandfather was born there in 1898.
Wow.
And so
you look great for your age.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
And so we would visit Cedar Rapids occasionally and have the amazing Made Right sandwiches, which are located there and pretty much nowhere else.
Yes.
But I have, very strange memories of that because we would go visit old relatives. And it's a very nice thing, but it's also a little bit confusing for people who you've never seen in your life before.
Yes, I understand.
And it's a very small town for being a big town in Iowa.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about how you first grew up there and what your life was like amongst the corn.
Amongst the corn. Oh my gosh. Where do I start? I don't know where to start. In elementary school, and it was the second one I went to. They tried to put me in when my birthday's in November, and they tried to put me in when I was 4, but my mother and father got divorced, and he left when I was 4, so I think I was a little traumatized. So they took me back out because it was too scary for me. I mean, I was 4. Who's ready for kindergarten at 4?
That's a preschool age, yeah.
Yeah, in the 60s.
Yeah.
Anyway, free babysitting.
Yeah, right.
So, but we moved, and my first elementary school was Wright School, and we lived at Parktown Place apartment buildings, and we used to play Star Trek at recess, And I was the tallest girl in school, and actually I remained the tallest until I went to high school, which was actually so, it was like, oh my God, boys are finally taller than me. It was so great. But the shortest kid in school played Captain Kirk. And,
Funny then.
Yeah, right? And I was always the alien from another planet.
Wow.
And of course, because it was the 60s, I too wanted to look like a stripper. Because it was the 60s, right? And didn't they all look that way? It was like, everything was so sexed up then. It was crazy time.
Yeah,
Not that it isn't now,
not that it
but
isn't
I
now.
mean, yeah.
But it was, the attitude was much different
Yes.
than now. I mean, it wasn't really sexed up. It was just kind of the way it was, you know?
Yeah.
And people
Yeah.
didn't consider it, you know, strange or bawdy or anything like that. It was
No.
just, oh, well, yeah, there she is, and that's great.
Yeah, and it's cute.
Yeah.
And
Did you cosplay at all? Or did you dress
Oh.
up in costumes, I should say?
no, not in school.
No.
That would have been weird. But at Halloween, I always wanted to be a vampire. Always. I love Dark Shadows. That was
Sure.
my favorite show. Right?
Yeah.
So bizarre. And of course, Morticia from the Addams Family. All of that. I wanted to be that.
Tish, that's French.
Right? I don't speak French. I can count in French.
Well, see, that's enough.
Yeah. Does it matter? It's just like, un, deux, trois, quatre, cinq, six.
Okay, you need to stop.
Okay, sorry. Où est la toilette? Yeah. Good times. Good times.
So you enjoyed, you know, you enjoyed the darker side of entertainment.
I sure did. Yeah.
And how do you think that happened? Was it because it was a little naughty, maybe? Or it was
I don't,
something that other kids didn't necessarily gravitate to?
maybe. I don't know. That's interesting, isn't it? I don't. Maybe the monsters in the movies and television aren't as scary as the monsters in real life.
Right, right.
That's probably true. Not that I want to delve into any of that right now, but yeah, you know, yeah. Yeah. And
So
it's like pretend though, too.
Right.
I mean, I never
it's
turned
safe,
into
it's
a
a
goth
safe
kid or
way
anything.
to deal with those characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love roller coasters. But you assume you're going to be safe, so it's okay to be terrified because you.
Right.
Well, now when we see accidents, it's like I'm not getting on a roller coaster again. No,
well, it's okay. You
it's
can if
okay.
you
I don't
want
have to.
You don't have to.
No.
So as you got older and you got into high school and began seeing people your height again,
Yes. And I stopped feeling adopted. There
Right.
was that. I had to go through that
right?
because when my father left, he was 6'3.5", but I was left with my mother's tiny side of the family. Yeah.
It was like Snow White, wasn't
I
it?
was a freak of nature. It kind of was. It kind of was. And weirdly, my niece called me. When we talk about what princesses we wanted to be when they were little, they were like, but Aunt T's Snow White because animals love me.
Yeah. And you love animals.
I do.
That's the thing.
I do.
So they know.
They know. My birds love me. I don't have birds in the house like Nana has her beautiful parrot, who's scary, Luciano. But I put so much food out for my birds, and at first it was scary for them when I'd go outside. But I just sit there and I watch them, and once my dogs stopped chasing them,
Right.
now they sit on the fence. Seriously, sit on the fence, and I'm like, hi, are you getting enough food? I'm so happy you're here.
Hi, bird friends.
Exactly.
Welcome
I
to
know.
the feeding trough.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that you started to realize that people wanted to take your picture at some point.
Yes. Well, mostly I got told that because I was tall, I should be a model. But otherwise, I was a late bloomer. It was sort of like I was this kind of not nerdy because it wasn't like I was off the charts smart, but kind of a geeky kid, super skinny, very tall. My mom would cut my hair super short. In 6th grade, I had like this Tony Tennille haircut, for those of you who know
Look
that.
it up.
Look it up. Thank you. And I would put my hair in my mouth like, little 6th grade girls do. And I was so excited to finally have long hair. And I had this crush on this kid in my class who also the bully girl who's way overdeveloped. She had a crush on him too.
Did he wear a captain's hat?
No, he had very curly hair. His name was Brett Burkhoff. And my mom said to me, "You put your hair in your mouth one more time,
Yeah.
I'm going to cut it off."
Yeah. That's a secret code that you didn't realize.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so it's an unconscious thing, that kind of thing. So I did it. I must have done it, and I didn't remember doing it. And she called me, and she said, "I need you over here." She had a hair salon in an apartment building. She took an 2-bedroom apartment and turned it into a hair salon. So not fancy like y'all would think of, but yeah, it's Iowa in the 70s. So I go over, and I have no idea. I think she's going to ask me to clean or something. So it wasn't like I was excited, but I wasn't in fear either. But then she said, "Have a seat." And it was like, oh no. And all I was like, "Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry." And she cut my ponytail off. And then she gave me a perm. And then I had an afro.
Wow. So you became Annie.
Yes. Only Brett Burkhoff called me the electrocuted string bean. Yes. Yes. And those days you ended up smelling like perm solution for a long time. So I smelled bad. And I was embarrassed, so I'd wear a hat. Kids would take the hat away, and then it looked worse than if I would have just left it alone. Yeah, not really confidence building. So I didn't think of myself as I'm going to be a model or anything like that. So in high school, when came up that maybe I really could be a model, a friend of mine in high school took pictures of me, and I couldn't believe that I looked so different to me in the picture than I looked to myself in the mirror. And it was like, wow, I think I might be able to do this. So different little things happened. Like I thought to myself, there was a teen pageant program, and I went to it, and I said to the judges when I met with them the first time, all I care about is winning Miss Photogenic, because if I win that, then it gives me a reason to send my pictures to New York and see if I could find an agent. And at the time, Cosmopolitan magazine had like a New York directory, and it had modeling agents. So I sent my pictures, and the first time I sent it, remember in the 70s, my eyebrows were super plucked. And of course, my mom being really happy about perms, I still had a perm. So my hair, it was longer, but it was still permified. And they said, let your eyebrows grow out and then send us more pictures.
Wow.
Most of them said, "You're too tall." Most of them. And at that time, I was probably 5'10". I'm 6 feet now. So when I sent the second round of photos when I was 16, I had my eyebrows, and my hair was, I told my mom to leave me alone in a very, non-offensive way. And
No, that's okay, Mom.
Exactly. And Gara Morris from Elite Model Management called me before school started my junior year, so I was 16, and said, "I'd like to come see you, and if you look like your pictures, we want to sign you."
Wow.
Like that's still so real. Changed my life.
And this is not the Garrett Morris from Saturday Night Live.
No.
No.
I was babysitting, so I don't know who that is. Right. Yeah.
That's right. Yes, we talked about that earlier. You missed a whole decade.
I did.
Of television.
I did.
Yeah.
So she came and she said, "Oh, I'm happy to tell you, look just like your pictures." And so my family and I drove out over Christmas, my junior year. By then I was 17. We did pictures, and my mom and aunt were there with me, and we drove my agent at the time, we gave her a lift into Boston, from New York to Boston, and then we went to my aunt's house in New Hampshire. But on the way, she's looking at the sheets. I can't think of what they're called now. It doesn't matter. You wouldn't know what I'm talking about anyway. So she's looking at the pictures of me, and she said, "Oh my God, you're going to be a cover girl." And I had goosebumps over my entire body, and she wasn't exaggerating, and it was under her breath. And in 6 weeks, I had the cover of Mademoiselle magazine. This is starting in June. We're just going to jump there. June 1981. I skipped my senior year of high school. When I knew that I was going to go to New York, I took a bunch of extra classes. So I really wanted to be prepared that if it didn't work out, I could go to community college. Because it wasn't.
Did you get your GED?
I did.
Okay, good.
Yeah, highest score at the time because I wasn't
Glad you had
dropping
something
out.
to fall back on.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, if they get minimum wage up, I'll have something to do when I retire. But I had the cover of, in that first month, I got the cover of the New York Times, Fashion of the Times, and the cover of the Washington Post, Fashion. Then I got the cover of Mademoiselle, and they signed me for I think it was like a year deal. And I was the fastest New Faces model to move into the elite division, which is the top models.
No, that never happens.
Yeah,
No, don't you?
It was pretty amazing. Yeah, it never happens. They send models to Europe, and John Casablancas was, "You're not going to Europe. You're staying in America." Because I was, on this road that was, is still surreal. I couldn't believe it.
Now, you mentioned that you couldn't believe that you looked like those photos from when you looked in the mirror. Did you have body dysmorphia?
I think I still do a little bit. I think it's partly being raised by somebody who, product of their environment, always worried about their weight. Mm-hmm. If I gained a little weight, it was like, "Oh, you're gaining weight.
Yeah.
It's catching up."
Yeah.
So not a, and it was also during the era of you could never be too rich or too thin.
Sure.
And it was really hard because I have a very athletic body, and even though I was skinny as a kid, as I grew into myself, I loved sports and I loved running, and as you know, I love kickboxing and things like that.
Yeah, she kicked me yesterday.
Yeah, I did. He deserved it.
No one can prove that.
No one can prove that. I have tape. So I would get these weird, okay, you have a note, you need to lose 4 pounds.
4.
I shit you not.
Not 5.
4.
Not 5.
Yeah,
4. Yeah. Wow.
At 6 feet tall.
And you did it, didn't you?
Well, at the time, yeah. But then there were times, oh my word. So it's been a struggle for me, which is, I know, really irritating to people who have genuine struggles. But it's so psychologically messed up.
It's real because your brain is tricking you.
Yeah.
And
even on
it's
Becker.
misleading you, yeah.
Even on Becker, the wardrobe lady was like, "What's that?" I have one hip that's a little more round than the other, and I'm like, "It's fat." Oh. And then a producer said to me, "You might want to start working out. The show's going to get a lot of attention."
Huh.
So I started working out. And I lost 15 pounds.
And you might want to stop being an asshole.
Thank you. No, but I feel like that. Thank you. Yeah, they weren't terribly woke. But I started doing kickboxing and running and spinning, and I looked like an athlete. I had, 10% body fat,
Oh
not
my God.
much. Yeah.
That's insane.
Then they told me to gain weight. We're worried about you.
Yeah, right. What the hell do you want from me?
Exactly. Yeah. And I was working with this actress on it, her name was Hattie Winston. She played the nurse. And she just thought I was crazy, right? "Oh, fuck you, Terry." And I'm like, honest to God, you don't understand. It's just because it is surreal. Mm-hmm. There's nothing wrong with you, but it does keep reinforcing that dysmorphia because it's just like when I lose weight, the shape of my body doesn't change. I don't know about you guys, not so much, but it gets smaller. It's just, still looks the same,
Yeah, you're
more or
still
less.
proportional.
Yeah, exactly. And I am in proportion, so I don't look incredibly tall. So most of you are shocked when you meet me because, oh my God, you're so tall. Because my legs
Hi.
aren't super
Hi,
long
Terry.
or whatnot. Yeah. So it feels like a stupid thing to
It's a
have.
vicious circle.
Yeah, it's
'cause
like an
they-
earworm.
To control you.
Don't eat that. You can eat
Yeah.
that. And yeah,
And they keep
it's so silly,
they
but
keep
it's a
poking
really
at
nightmare.
at your one weakness.
Yeah.
And they know what it is.
Yeah,
And they do this for a living.
Yeah.
To control people.
yeah.
And it's horrific.
It is horrific.
So-
And it's constant. So either you need to lose the 4 pounds or you're too skinny, you've got to gain weight.
Yeah.
And so it's this constant seesaw. There's never kind of an even. I love Bob Blackman. I had 3 suits. I had my after holidays suits. So I had my fat suit, which nobody would think was really fat, but I thought it was fat at the time.
It's got a skosh more.
Exactly. Probably 10 or 15 pounds that you don't notice so much. Wow. I know. But thank goodness I'm 6 feet tall. And my skinny suit, which means I wasn't eating much more than salad and, a light beer, a Boca burger, and a little itty bitty bag of chips for dinner. Right? And I had my period suit. Yeah. So skinny, period, holiday.
Wow. Well, it's a very strange thing for performers to have to maintain this image that they have established.
Yeah.
And you have to stay that way. Otherwise, people will not recognize you, theoretically.
Theoretically.
Yeah. But it's all bullshit.
Yeah, but you know what? Bob Blackman never made
No,
me
he
feel
was-
bad about it.
he was good. Yeah,
he's
yeah,
a human being, a
Yeah.
normal human being. The other things made me feel bad. And what's weird to me is I thought when I stopped modeling and started acting that it would go away.
Yeah,
Like,
no.
well, you're an actor. You're just telling stories. Who cares if you're 5 or 10 pounds here or there? But
No, but it's worse.
yeah, because I got hired because I'm supposed to look like what you're supposed to want to look like.
Right.
So that's kind of messed up.
Yeah, I know how that is. I had to stop modeling. I
Thank you for the
understand.
extra work.
Well-
If you didn't quit, I wouldn't have had to work.
No, I saw her at auditions all the time, and I said, I can't. So, when you got your first acting gig,
Yeah.
from being one of the most rising stars in modeling ever, how did that occur?
I read for a TV show. Sorry, I can't think of the name of the guy at ABC. It was so great to me. I went to ABC and I had an audition for a TV movie called Paper Dolls. And it was my first audition.
Not to be confused with Models, Inc.
No, but, and a lot of people wouldn't even know about it because that was such a long time ago in the early 80s. But at any rate, I didn't get the part, but they liked me. So ABC put me on a retainer. So I was already in acting class, but I got really much more serious about my acting class. And I took voice lessons because my voice was very high, which is not uncommon for girls that have been traumatized when they're
Yeah.
young. My voice was
Yeah,
super
it all
high.
tightens up and
Yeah.
and
And you're
super high.
like, you breathe from here
Yeah.
up. Obviously, I've recovered a lot. But yeah, I did all of that. And then there was the TV series, of which Daryl Hannah played the Nicolette Sheridan part. And why would her name go out of my head? Oh, she was on Baywatch. Amanda? No.
She was dark-haired, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, forgive me for a minute. Anyway, so they didn't want to do the TV series. What I didn't realize was I was the only person that was being flown to Los Angeles to be tested for my part. Nicolette Sheridan had somebody else that she was testing, but I was actually a top model and a cover girl. Nicolette Sheridan was a starlet. She had a couple covers, but she wasn't Well, she was a Los Angeles model, which
Yeah.
those of us who are from New York and modeled in New York, Paris, Milan, those kinds, we
And
don't.
she hadn't done the sure thing yet, or had she?
I don't know. I don't remember.
I don't know.
But she was an actress.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was so nervous I couldn't move my neck in the audition, not realizing I was the only person reading for it.
Right.
So I was very much the character in that sense, even though career-wise, I already had the success of being a model for 3 years. But it was a fantastic experience.
I'll bet.
It really
I
was.
mean, it's very whirlwind.
Yeah. John Pennant Perry played my dad, and he said, "My son is a little too young for you, Matthew Perry.
Oh, my goodness. Oh.
Otherwise, I'd set you up with him." I know.
He wasn't too young at all.
Not as we got older, but I was 20 playing 16, and when I turned 21, they were like, "We have to have you turn 17." I'm like,
Right.
"Okay," but it's kind of great because a lot of people think I'm younger than I am too. That's like sort of, really?
Well, you're
But of
in-
course you do, because
You're
you,
in your 30s now, aren't you?
exactly.
That's what I thought.
Thank you. I love you, Darren.
I love you too. Yeah, so you had the audition for that, and what happened? I mean,
It only went for 13 episodes.
and then that was it, and then
And
you
then
learned
that
an
was it.
important lesson.
Yeah.
Don't count your chickens.
No,
Yeah.
but you know what? There was another TV series being shot there besides, what was the one with Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis?
Moonlighting.
Thank you. That was being shot there, and people are saying mean things about her because she was breastfeeding her children on the set, which is like, what the heck? I breastfed Max 3.5 years. I know he doesn't like to hear that now, but I'm pretty proud of it. I'm pretty proud of it, right? Gates, breastfed too. I mean, like, what else? I mean, they're there to attract you guys, and then they're also there to actually feed your children.
Oh,
I know. Or babies, sorry.
right.
Babies.
Yes.
And there was another series there. I can't remember the guy. He was, I think, in Blue Lagoon with Brooke Shields. I can't think of his name.
Atkins.
Yes. Okay, he was doing another series there. I don't remember what it was. But he came on with like a Ferrari or Lamborghini or something. It was like... And
Chris Atkins.
Chris
Yes.
Atkins. And people are like, don't do what he's doing. Don't spend your money until you've been picked
Was that
up.
Charles in charge?
I don't know. Was it? Did he get
I
fired
think he
from
was
it?
on- I don't know.
Okay, he got let
I'm wrong.
go
I'm probably wrong.
or fired, and he had to
Yeah.
take the car back. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Oh.
oh no. I used my pilot money and only my pilot money to buy a car for cash, which I
Yeah.
got berated by my parents for that I bought it for cash. And I was like,
I don't have any payments.
right?
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking. Didn't work out great when you buy your first house, though, and they're like, do you have a line of credit? I'm like,
Yeah.
Why-
A what?
why would I borrow money if I can pay for it?
Exactly.
I never understood that.
It's a scam.
It is a scam.
It's the same thing that the producers do to keep you in control.
Exactly.
It's exactly the same thing.
Exactly the same thing. So anyway, I bought a car I could afford.
Right.
Yeah. And then we got canceled after 13. And then I did an independent movie called Off the Mark out in the Malibu Hills. And it was one of those crazy, I'd like a salad with Russian dressing, and then they rolled in, is it Billy Barty? He was one of the Munchkins.
Right.
And he's dressing. So it was one of those crazy
He
comedies.
played the dressing?
Yes, a Russian dressing.
Oh my God.
I'd like a little Russian dressing.
Wow.
I know.
That's awesome.
Well, I know, right? Well, it was the early 80s, so nobody was woke. So it's like back to school, come on. It just is what it is.
So, speaking of back to school,
Yes.
that couldn't have happened much long after that. Were you bopping around for a year or so, and then?
Yeah, I did. I kind of all at the same time. I'd have to look at it exactly, but I did Back to School. I did a TV movie with Faye Dunaway, Robin Givens, Aykroyd's wife.
Oh, yeah.
From, yes, with,
Danny Aykroyd's wife, yes.
Yes.
We know her. We just can't remember her name.
can't remember her name, but she was in Bosom Buddies.
Yes.
Donna Dixon.
Donna Dixon.
Thank you. Oh, God bless you. So sweet. And Melanie someone. Anyway, great girls. And Faye Dunaway was great the first meeting.
You're so classy.
Thank you. Not always, but thank you.
So everyone is wondering how you got the role in Back to School. I mean, it was an audition, yes.
Yes. And I did not know Rodney Dangerfield was going to be in the room, and I did not recognize him at first because he had snow white hair. And I lived across from Dangerfield's in New York in this weird little studio apartment in an old laundry building they turned into apartments. Super weird, strange shape. But anyway, I sat down and I was like, I can't breathe. I was so nervous. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm really nervous. And I think my voice just kept climbing. I'm just so excited to meet you. I didn't know you were going to be here because...
Hey, that's okay, honey. I'm nervous too.
I did. How nervous are you?
Just enough, yeah.
He didn't even have that. He was like
He was just a normal guy.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call him
he
normal.
didn't use the affectation.
No,
Yes,
he didn't
yes.
use the affectation. He was very down to earth, super nice, very patient, and another one of those where, and I had this experience with Dax too. It's like every part I've gotten, well, other than the ones I've been offered, but it tends to be that I'm so excited and nervous to get it because I really, really want it, and then I end up getting it, and it had nothing to do, they don't care about whether you're nervous. They care about seeing that you're being real and you're trying, and you're not trying to cover that you're nervous, right? So what was great was the director, his wife was taller than he was. So that I was taller than Keith Gordon, they didn't care. They thought it was cute. They thought it was sweet. And so that definitely worked in my benefit. And I didn't even realize my nerves and my voice going up really served the character they wanted me to play.
It was endearing.
It was
Yes.
endearing because I was Valerie Desmond, and she's very not aware of how attractive she was. I know.
That's man's dream. Really.
Thank you. Yeah, my first husband was sorely mistaken when he married me and thought I was her. I shouldn't say that, but we're in a great place, the two of us now. We really are. But I really do think he thought I was not quite as capable.
Well, that's your super strength.
Yeah.
That's your power.
Is that I'm capable?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
And you hide it
I hide it. I do, I guess.
because you don't want to scare people.
Oh, thank you, Darren.
It's true.
Well, I just think that I'm smart enough to hire smart people to help me, or hire them to take care of my money,
Right.
my life.
Hopefully.
Well-
so who is this? Who is this guy? Who was this guy? Robert Downey Jr.
Junior, he was super wacky then, because that was his pre-awakening. Well, we drank scotch and made out, and it was pretty great.
The Scotch.
Yes, the scotch was excellent. It was just really fun. It was just a crazy time, and I got to hang out with Sally Kellerman a lot.
That's awesome.
I know. She was a really good girlfriend, because when you watch the movie, you can see that most of the time, all of us were there, but obviously not all of us are on screen,
Right.
so we had a lot of downtime. Burt Young had a whole bar in his trailer.
Why does this not surprise me?
Yeah. Right? Well, I didn't partake because I was at work.
Right.
And I was still the girl from Iowa, afraid to break any rules.
Oh, my.
Yeah,
That changed eventually, didn't it?
eventually.
But how fun was that movie? Because when we
So
watched
much
it, it
fun.
seems like it was a ton of fun.
It was. It really was. It just
Shakespeare
was.
for everybody.
Yeah. He used to come to my trailer in the morning with his bathrobe on
Oh, my goodness.
and knock on my door and tell me a joke. And the only one I remember, because I was just so flattered that he was coming to, and he was married. He wasn't doing a weird anything. It was just really sweet because he knew I was nervous and he knew I was a big fan. And the one that I remember is, he goes, "Hey kid, hair today, gone tomorrow." He pulls off his toupee. But he was always in this bathrobe. It was hilarious.
Well, I've heard stories about him and his bathrobe that didn't have that happy ending.
Oh,
Let's just say.
really?
Yeah.
I probably would. I'm not surprised. And it was a different time. So
Yeah.
it's easy for us to be, you know what, we've progressed.
Yeah.
Let's keep doing that.
Speaking of progressing, I'm sure a lot of you have questions for dear Terry. If you could line up in front of the microphone over there, we can take you one at a
Yay.
time. If you can possibly limit your questions to something that could be answered fairly quickly, we'll be able to get through all of you. So
Oh, that'd be great.
go right ahead.
Also, I have ADHD, so if you describe too much before you ask the question, I'll be gone and I'll have to ask you what the question is again.
Well, hello, it's nice to see you. My name is Theo.
Hi, Theo.
I think that all of us have our own reason for loving the characters that you've played and you yourself. But I would just love to hear a couple of your own thoughts about what you enjoyed about the character Dax and what she meant to you, the impact that she had, or even how your relationship with her changed over the years.
It might take me a second to answer this one. I think Dax I think why I liked her is it was something, the idea of playing her amazing and iconic character. You could even tell just from the first description of living 350 years, being a man and a woman. I always felt like I was really balanced on my masculine feminine side, which was a big thing, is how we used to describe it in the 70s. And because I was athletic, tall, and big sister, so, you know, I did kick a couple bullies' asses for my little sister. And I say little only because she's shorter than me, because she's really only 13 months younger than me. But really, Dax is the best version of me, the highest version of myself. And that was easier to play than it was to live. And I think as an adult, I've always, since playing her, always aspired to get back or to get to that highest self. I had to go through a lot of lessons in life that took me off course, but I feel like I'm back on course again. And it makes my soul feel filled to play her, to see myself playing her, watching it back on the Delta Flyers journey through the wormhole. I'm really proud of it. I'm so grateful to the writers that they wrote me the way that they did, so that I had the opportunity to be her. And I feel like she's the closest thing to love. If that's just the one word I can describe, I want my life to be love. Acceptance. Ira Bear told me once that she is Star Trek. She is everything that Star Trek's supposed to be. Accepting, loving, compassionate, forgiving. She is Star Trek. So that, and I have goosebumps as I'm saying that, is such a huge honor, and I hope I can live up to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Theo.
Great question. Thank you.
In Deep Space Nine, there's much chemistry between Dax.
I'm sorry, can you turn that light off? That little pin light's just a little intense.
In Deep Space Nine,
Thank you.
there's much chemistry between Dax and Cisco. What's it like working with Avery Brooks?
Oh, wow. The first scene I had with Avery, thank you, that's a good question. First scene I had with Avery, we were in the science lab, David Carson's directing, and I had to one-up him with the old man. I can't remember what I said to him, but he called me old man, and then I had to kind of raise the intensity. And I had to pull him aside and say, Avery, I'm so sorry, I need your help. I mean, I'm just a 28-year-old, and I'm kind of struggling with this, and you're so powerful, I can't one-up you. Can you help me out? And I think that he really, I know he respected, but it felt so brave to say that to him, and I felt so vulnerable. I really appreciated that he appreciates the honesty, and that's the kind of man he is, and how he really then felt like a mentor. I really think he loves being a teacher, and he loves being a mentor. And he went beyond with Sirach by being a surrogate father to him. But I felt really lucky that he mentored me. So when we have scenes and I'm toe-to-toe with him, I felt safe enough to be strong and not be intimidated by him, because I was honest with him, and he would, if you allowed him to mentor you, he would put you to the task and expect a lot from you, and it was great.
Thank you for answering my question.
Thank you.
Welcome, thank you. Thank you for the question.
Hi, Terry. My name's Rick. It was a pleasure to meet you at your table.
Thank you, Rick.
I love you as Dax, but I just wanted to ask, how do you feel about your character on Becker for 4 seasons?
Oh, golly. Well, I was destroyed when they let me go, because I was feeling like I was finally feeling super comfortable in the half-hour world. That was a big adjustment. I loved Reggie, but I never thought I would miss Dax. But playing a neurotic character, it was really different than playing a hero. And I had to get used to a completely different format, different way of working. But it was exciting. It was so exciting. And because of doing conventions, actually having the audience of 200 people, that didn't faze me at all. But changing lines and getting the timing for the comedy, that was, what's the word I want to use? Challenging, but challenging in an inspiring kind of way, right? So I loved it. I really loved it. I would have kept doing it.
Yeah, and I didn't watch after you were off the show, so.
You get extra points. Extra points.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Afternoon, Ms. Farrell.
Good afternoon.
Well, thank you for coming to San Jose for our very first GalaxyCon.
Yes.
It's a great.
Don't they do a good job?
They do.
They do.
They do.
Love
And-
Mike Broder shows, yeah.
And this is my first opportunity to see you in any of the conventions I've been to in all the years I've been going to conventions. So it has been an extreme pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Do you have a question?
My question is, it's a what-if question. Now that Paramount Plus is winding down their animated series, Lower Decks, if Paramount Plus decides to come back with a new animated series, what would you think about coming on as a voice artist?
Oh,
Possibly doing-
100%. Wouldn't even, don't have to think about it. Of course.
I think you should take it.
Okay. How much are you paying me?
I'll let my people talk to your people.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was the last question.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh, we're done on time?
All right then.
Wow.
Well, I just want to say thank you to Terry Farrell for being so lovely and kind and
Thank you,
sweet
Darren.
and all
Oh
those
my
wonderful
God.
things.
Thank you.
And we're back.
We're
Nobody
back.
does it better. Darren and Terry.
It was
Terry
sure,
and Darren.
It was sure fun.
Take that show on the road. Oh, you were on the road.
We were. On.
Yeah. But, you know, we have so much affection for her. So it comes through how much we like her because, you know, she's always so happy to see us. And we're always so happy to see her. And she's just delightful. And, you know, I think part of it is, you know, can relate more to Terry because Terry grew up as a huge Star Trek fan.
Right.
And I think that's something that, you know, we can all relate to. Like, I think sometimes the actors, when they have no affinity for Star Trek, it's hard to understand, like, well, we're industry professionals, but we do a podcast about Star Trek, and they can't, it's a weird disconnect. It's like, you're fans, but you're actually successful in the business. I don't get it. Like, and it's like, and like somebody like Terry is like, oh yeah, but I grew up as a huge Star Trek fan, right? Yeah. So it's like, she gets it.
And plus, you know, you love talking to people who grew up where you grew up. And Terry grew up in the town that my grandfather was born and my family is from.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah.
It's that kind of connection with me as well. And I always,
that's true. I only like talking to people who grew up in New York. People who are not from New York, I have no interest in talking to. It's true.
Well, which is why I'm lucky that I spent a little time in New York, so I have that sort of touchstone to communicate with you.
I do want to say that I do love our Canadian listeners, and I'm your friend, and I believe in Canada. I love Canada. Love Germany. I love Europe. Love all these countries.
Sure.
So, and New York.
I don't love Canada taking all our Star Trek, but, you know.
Yeah, well, okay, that's a whole different thing. That's a different thing. I agree. Star Trek stage in Toronto. I know. Yeah. I'm sorry. You can have all this other television, but Star Trek should be made in LA, where it's always been made, on the Paramount lot. That's where, not Santa Clarita. Even Santa Clarita was one step too far for me. Star Trek should be made at Paramount. Period. That's it. Anyway,
I don't disagree.
There are reasons that it's not. We get it, but it just, there's something about it that it feels less like Star Trek if it's not made at Paramount.
Yeah.
And
there it is.
I mean, it's different. At least, you know, during the Silver era, you know, they had these huge warehouses full of stuff that they had built for Next Gen, which they had built for, you know, Voyager, which they had built for Deep Space Nine, some stuff even left over from TOS. Then that all got sold off after Enterprise. So it's a little different now because they would never use that stuff anymore, but still, they don't have it, but they wouldn't use it. But anyway, that's a whole nother conversation.
It's a lost era.
It's a lost era indeed.
I mean, we're in the future now.
Well, Darren, always good to talk to you, and I'm so glad you got to sit down with Terry and have this great conversation with her. I hope you enjoyed us sharing it with you.
Absolutely.
And
I hope
if you have any thoughts,
I hope everyone you know, joins us again next time.
I hope so too. And you can share your thoughts with us on your favorite social media platform or via email at treksperts@gmail.com or on the new Inglorious Treksperts Discord channel. Join the conversation. It's hopping over there. You can be a part of it. And don't miss us at the upcoming Las Vegas convention, where we'll once again be producing the Trekspert stage, August 6th to the 10th, and at GalaxyCon Richmond, March 27th to the 30th. That's 4 days of a festival of fandom you don't want to miss at galaxycon.com. You can also find out what other conventions they have coming up this year as well.
And at the risk of sounding like one of those YouTube people, if you're watching us on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe, please.
Yeah, that's a good note because, you know, people don't know we're on YouTube. So we have, you know, a huge audience on the audio podcast, but we're really in the very early stages of building an audience on YouTube, and we can use all the support we can get. So review and rate, that would be super helpful. Again, thanks to everybody for joining us, and a big thank you to Peter Holmstrom, Brian Mix, our producer, Mark Rivera, our audio sound engineer, John Cardy, our social media manager. Treksperts Plus, Inglorious Treksperts is copyright 2025 by Treksperts Plus. So until next Thursday, on behalf of Mr. Darren Doctorman, myself, Mark Altman, and unfortunately,
and the ailing Ashley Edward.
We're still trying to figure out how to make Ashley young again. He's turned 101 years old, and we're trying to solve the problem with adrenaline, Jim.
We think it has something to do with that comet.
So we're trying to figure that out. Once we get him back to his robust 29-year-old self, we will have him rejoin the podcast. Until then, keep on trekking, and gloriously, of course.